Welcome back, everybody, to We Are TPM with myself, Kyle Teixeira. Sitting next to me is John Teixeira, as usual. We are back with another episode for you, episode 50 of We Are TPM. So,
can you believe that? Isn't that weird?
It is. It's a big number, right?
It is a big number
for us to do 50 of anything.
It snuck up on us when we realized that we were doing 50. That's why we decided to do what we're going to do today. Which is what? Yeah,
so for episode 50, we figured we'd give everybody, this would be good for some, bad for others, I guess. But we are recapping our first 49 episodes for episode 50. Call this a bibliography, a reference episode. We're just going to run through every episode we did in the first 50 and just kind of summarize. This is what we talked about. This is why we talked about it. That way you can listen to this and maybe go back if you missed something or really just know specifically what you want to listen to. So, because there's a lot of information in the last 49 episodes.
That's well said, Kyle, because some might think that we're doing this for our own sake, right? To pat ourselves on the back. But that's not why we come here every week, and it's not why we're doing this bibliography format here. It's because we did some good stuff that we want to remind ourselves what we did, right? And just kind of go through and remind people that, hey, you can go back to, appreciate the appreciation in episode 13, and that's a really good one to pay attention to, right?
Yeah, I mean, not all of these might be relevant to everybody who listens. Some of these are investor based, some of these are, landlord based, or there's people it could be relevant to, but there's other people that may not be. So
I love it. Before you get into it, Kyle, good job, man. Right on. I'm proud to do this with you. 2 years we've been at this.
2 years. We're looking at this list, and our first one was posted on May 1st of 2021.
Yeah, and you know what? I've got to tell you, I think you felt the same way I did when we walked in this studio for the first time with Steve here at Mansfield Podcast Studio. Did I get that right,
Podcast
Steve?
Mansfield. Maybe another
Mansfield
2 years.
Studio. Okay. It'll take me another 2 years to get it right. But when we walked in here, we didn't really know what...
The initials are literally PM.
I know. Well, that's why that's there. Okay, I thought that was there for me. The point being, we did not know what we were going to do, what this would look like. We really didn't have much of a strategy. We just knew we wanted to do something to get out there and educate people, to help people in some way. And I feel like over the course of the last 2 years...
Nothing's changed.
Oh, that was funny, Kyle. That was really funny. However, what has happened is we've created a personality for this podcast, right?
Yeah, and I think we've supplied a lot of helpful info or things you don't think about or insight. That was really our purpose.
Yeah.
We came with more of a purpose than intention and planning and all that. The purpose was just to inform.
Yep, you are right. Well said. Let's get into it. Go.
Knowledge is power, right? So we started out, this was actually, it's nice to reflect too in the order of how we did this a little bit too, because we started out with a niche episode, right? We started out with episode 1, should you include short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBOs in your rental portfolio?
Kind of a strange way to
Before
start
even
podcast,
talking about a rental portfolio, we went, should you include this in here? I remember at the time, too, why we did that was because we didn't record this one first. We recorded the Building Your Empire first. And forget the exact reason. Oh, we had to finish it out or something. So we went with that one.
Yeah, well, we were figuring everything out. So regardless of what we did, episode 1 was about... That's probably a really good topic for people to go back and listen to, right? Like, we should probably update that one.
It's still one of our most listened to episodes, to this day. So that one, just quick synopsis. We talked about what short-term rentals is, why they're good additions to your portfolio. We had one of our clients, Teresa Okoro, in to discuss one of them that she had in her portfolio. 2 years later.
Lots changed in 2 years from the short-term rental.
Yeah. A lot has changed since that. Yeah, we'll get through a bunch more, but this was probably the peak growth start. May 1st, 2021 is when the short-term rental market started blowing up. I mean, at that time we were doing it for years then, but Everybody started getting into it. So episode 2, Building Your Empire Part 1. And I'll say episode 3 is Building Your Empire Part 2. This was an interview with Kevin and January Seaton about starting from, just having your first rental home and building an empire out of it. A lot's changed for them too in the last 2 years,
A lot has changed. And you know what? I have to say something about these episodes. And I know that we're putting a lot into these first few episodes, and we're not going to do this for 49 of them, that's for sure.
No.
But I have to say, these 2 episodes are probably still my favorite episodes we've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Like, hands down, not even close, my favorite episodes we've ever done.
Well, you haven't gotten through the next 49, so maybe you might
I remember
say that
them all
again,
because I was here for them, though.
Were you, though?
Yes, I was. All of them.
Are you here today? Just kidding. So yeah, that's a great, it's a 2-part episode. It's one of our only 2 parts because it's a journey. It became so long that if you listen to nothing else, listen to that one for inspiration.
No, it's 2 parts because we were having such a great discussion that was so helpful to anybody that was listening, and it became way too long for one episode.
Well, and we did it in 2 parts. We did the interview story, and then we, you and me discussed it in part 2. So, moving on to episode 4. We're still in May 2021, acquiring your first rental property with Trevor Kerr of Gateway Mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
It was another one with an interview and a client, our preferred lender, Trevor, just discussing what the ins and outs financing wise are of acquiring your first rental. And then we did a series, right? So what was that series? I'll let you.
It was How Does a Great Property Manager Make You Money? And this was an interesting series. It's a series that I reference a lot when I'm talking to new prospects thinking about doing property management. They call us for the first time and we tell them about our services. I point them to these episodes often because it's a great way to get a feel for why you want a great property manager to do to rent your properties. And so we won't get into it all, but it talks about pricing, maintenance, tenant selection, turnover. There's other things in there in those episodes that we talk about, other important topics, but those are the main topics, and it's a good series.
Oh yeah, it's episode 5 through 8, and we get through the baseline of that. Having a property manager does make you more money, even on, and we're talking about it on like a net basis too. So
absolutely,
which is what people
100%.
Commonly ignore. This might be on your list of favorite ones, right? Episode 9, especially in July 24 of 2021, it was your favorite.
It was. Well, okay. So it's one of my favorite places on the planet. I don't know that equates to this being one of my favorite podcasts. I still like the Seatons way better. And so, but this is probably at one of the top of my lists where we talked about investing on Alabama's Gulf Coast. We had, at that time, we might have only had 1 unit. Or 2.
We had 2, I think. But
we have 4
we
now.
interviewed Renee Stringer, agent out there, helps us get these things, and just a lot of good stuff. Orange Beach, Alabama. It's one of many you can hear about our Orange Beach, Alabama journey.
This next one is probably the one we reference the most on a regular basis. I've already referenced it.
Maybe the most important to people, a lot of our prospects would be this one, right?
Yeah. What is it called, Kyle?
Appreciating Your Appreciation.
I love it.
It's like a mic drop title too.
We're like proud of that one too, aren't we? We're proud of the title and everything. It's great. Appreciate the appreciation.
We basically talk about how you can't ignore appreciation and only look at cash flows in investing.
People get wrapped up in numbers, and sometimes the wrong numbers. And there's a saying that we've been using a lot lately that it's an old saying, right? Don't trip over pennies. Don't trip over dollars to get to pennies, right? And that's in this episode we talk about some of the different ways that you do that.
And I like to bring back the example. I probably used it in there, but like you go 2 years of an investment, and people are like, I made no money. My cash flow is 0, and they're like, I'm selling it, and they sell it, and they made $200,000 that day. Right. It's like, you didn't make anything. You
just made some money.
Yeah. 11. So episode 11. We're into September of 2021. I think is it interesting to tell the time periods?
No, I don't. I think you just keep going. We got 49 of these to get through, Kyle. We're gonna be here all day.
Using retirement funds for real estate investing. This was kind of dipping into how you can use money you already have saved that's maybe locked up with legal restrictions, stuff like that, to actually invest in real estate and how those returns will compare and why it makes sense to do.
Why it makes sense to do, Kyle, that was important because it's not just how you do it, but why you should do it.
Yes, yeah. 12, crowdfunding your real estate investing.
That's very niche-y.
It was very niche-y, and it was a lot different in October of 2021 than it is today.
Yep.
But if you want to listen to that and how that's changed, but that was really about that was a very general episode about different products and ways you can crowdfund real estate.
I wonder what ChatGPT would say about crowdfunding now. We should redo that.
Didn't exist back then, right?
I know, yeah, it didn't.
Well, it may have existed, but wasn't accessible to us. So 13, the good old number 13, released on November 13th of 2021.
How to use hard money when buying real estate. And I've done a lot of this in my career, especially starting out. So we talk a lot about that.
And I think it's one of our more important ones. It's one of the tools that scare people off, and we talk a lot about in that episode and how it can be leveraged quickly.
Did we talk about the BRRRR strategy in that one, or is that a different episode? That's
literally a different episode, yeah. Okay. We'll get to that. And we do piggyback on that one when we get into the BRRRR episode, but, interest rates really affect that one too, right?
Yep.
So, this is one of our taglines 14.
I forgot about this one. I forgot. We used to use this all the time.
Still do.
I still use it all the time. Planting your tree of wealth.
Planting a tree of wealth. And this one, we really talk about the psychology around how real estate investing becomes wealth over time, and tying that together and trying to inspire people and how, important the time period is that until you plant that tree, it can't grow, right?
Yeah, and it kind of reframes in a more general sense, episode 10, appreciating your appreciation, right? So appreciating appreciation focuses on the appreciation itself, where planting a tree of wealth is more of an inspiration to get people in the mindset of why they want to invest in real estate, to improve their lifestyle and lifestyle for their future generations and so forth.
And I'm sure a whole bunch of fun analogies that we used around that whole
we
statement.
Probably did.
So,
15, I don't remember this one.
Investing in success.
I don't remember this one. Tell me about it, Kyle. What did we do? I must not have been here for this one.
Well, this one was more about this was more an inspirational episode about just doing it, investing in yourself. And, we talked about setting goals for personal success in real estate investing.
Did we phone that one in? Well, why don't I remember this one? This is crazy.
I don't know. January 22nd to 22. Maybe it
was I sick? What was going on? What, I don't know. All right.
I don't know.
Was it a good one? Maybe I should re-listen to it.
Yeah, it was a good one.
I remember this one.
I should have had our rankings in here. We should have had our, which one was ranked the highest.
You know what? That's a good segue to something. If you're following us on Facebook, we have posted at the beginning of the year our 5 best podcasts of the year. And that's an interesting little countdown that was done at the beginning of the year. But anyways, go ahead. How to do it wrong and still win. This one was fun for me because I'm the one that has to deal with the repercussions of what I see our owners do a lot of times, right? Mm-hmm. Our owners, after we take over, so even sometimes while they're with us, it's like they just make decisions that are fear-based, emotional-based. They make decisions for the wrong reasons, and so the point of this was, I watch people do this over and over again, do the wrong thing over and over again, and they still end up winning. Like, that's the beautiful part about this game, is that you can do it badly and still win. So why not do it right and win even better?
Yep. You're setting the bar low.
Mm-hmm.
Or high, I guess, depending on which side you want to look at it. But, there's a low floor and a high ceiling.
Yep. Yep.
So episode 17, the golden question.
Should you be a landlord? And Kyle, this one came from my heart more than anything because I think I talked about in this episode how I sit in front of people at their kitchen table talking to them about real estate, and I often get to see how the wife and the husband are in two completely different mindsets regarding real estate, whether they should buy, whether they should sell, whether they should keep their house and rent it, all of it. Like there's always, there's always that yin and yang in every relationship. So if somebody just carries too much weight on their shoulders, too much pressure and stress regarding this, and they can't find somebody like us to take that off, and they can't give that to us, then maybe they shouldn't be a landlord. And that was really the point here. It's not for everybody. Everybody could win at it, but that doesn't mean that it's worth.
And is the money, we talked about how the money per month, is that really worth the headache, the quality of life problems that come into those things? So, everything else aside,
right.
You start with the question of should you be a landlord? It is a position at the end of the day.
If you knew it was going to end in divorce, then would you have started it when it began? Was it worth it? Even if you made $400,000, was it still worth it? Because it cost you a marriage. So that was really
We're looking at it the right
point.
way. If you did have a property manager and only made $380, was it worth the $20,000? So
There you go.
This one is one that probably aged well. Episode 18, the effects of inflation on real estate investing, February 2022, when rates were still zero.
We probably had no idea when we did this in February 2022 what was coming and what.
We could go back and listen to this one because I remember I predicted really high rates by a year later, and here we are.
Well, I think we knew the rates were going to go up, but I think
But basically, talk here. It's bullet point. The appreciation rate of the housing market generally beats inflation rates. It can be a hedge against the pain in inflationary environments. Home values are up when interest rates are normally low. So that's changed.
Yep.
And it will always change. But yeah, that one would be just an interesting one to go listen to just for foreshadowing purposes,
This sounds like a Kyle episode, huh, Steve? This is like right up his alley.
Yeah, it does.
All right, Burr strategy.
The Burr strategy, episode 19.
Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat.
That's it. That's what it was about.
That's what it is.
We killed that one.
There you go. You don't need to say any more. That's it.
And he links that one to the hard money and how that we talk about what it is and tools you can use and keep it very general. So that's probably one that is a keyword you hear all the time.
Yep.
And then the series that John loved. He wanted to do this one so bad, and he wanted it to be 9 so bad. And it ended up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What happened?
We got to 7. We didn't get to 9.
We ended up combining two of them, and I was like, well, this one is illy named.
9
on all 7
concerns.
of them, the 9 common concerns when thinking about renting your home.
Hey, because
First one.
nobody's going to know when they get to the last part of the
first one-
series that they didn't listen to 9. Okay.
Well, there is 9. It's just in 7 episodes because the first one is already started with a combined where would I go and when would I do it. And yeah, where would I
Okay.
go and when would I do it?
All right. And then what about the person that says, "Oh, but I need my equity"?
Well, then listen to episode 21 because that's
All
what we
right.
talked about.
All right. What if somebody trashes my house, Kyle?
Then go to episode 22. We talk all about that.
Do we?
Yeah.
Do we talk about whether we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market or both?
That one on
When was
that was
this?
a year ago, April 2nd,
April
2022.
2022. All right.
How much you want to bet we were right on that one?
I have no
Low
idea.
dollar amounts? No, I'm just kidding.
I have no idea. Why would I go through the hassle?
Like it? Is it a good time to rent my home? Always.
What if there's a ton I have to do?
So have you ever had any of those concerns? These are all the episodes we
Yeah,
go
and that's
to
where-
address them.
Exactly, and that's where this came from was the concerns that people would have when we were talking to them on the phone in their home, whatever. These are the concerns that we hear about from people that have never been landlords before.
People who are thinking about renting their home.
This is what's going through their head. Sometimes spits out their mouth, so we answered them.
This is 7 episodes about 9 topics of.
Okay. All right. The math bothers you. I get it.
No, it's okay. I was going to say about their objection handling. All the objections you're going to tell yourself.
Yep.
These are the reasons to get past them.
Yep.
Before even considering all these other things we talk about. So, 27, episode 27. We're less than a year ago already now, should your tenant be paying your increased taxes? Well, this one hits close to home this time of year, huh?
It does. Everyone's seeing their increased taxes right now, and
escrow analysis.
And we're getting a lot of that right now. And that's where this was May 28th.
We should be pointing people to this episode like right now again, because it's like, should your tenant be paying your increased taxes? So basically in this one we talk about how the correlation between your taxes and rents is not how a market works,
So I think we handled this one correctly, but I'm going to be real with you right now about where this is born from. Can we be real with everybody? Is it okay if we let everybody get into the mind of John Teixeira?
Go right ahead.
When we created this topic, John Teixeira was annoyed by people coming to him left and right saying, my taxes have gone up. We need to raise the rent.
Yeah. And
did you have any other expenses that have gone up that you need to pass on to your tenant?
We could go ahead and talk all through this one again, but it's all the things that you didn't think about, how reasons those don't correlate, right? Like,
yeah, we did it already in that episode, so we won't do it again here.
We won't do it again.
I was just reliving my annoyance and the reason where that came from, so that's all.
Or the comments like, all right, so we'll consider that, and then next year if your taxes go down,
are we gonna pass that on to the tenant?
Are we gonna decrease the rent? No. 28 was how rising interest rates affect your rent. Well,
that kind of piggybacks off of 27, doesn't it?
Well, this is part of the description. I love it. People probably can agree with this one a year later. Getting qualified at 3% lets you purchase a certain amount, a significantly different amount than getting qualified at 6%.
Yep.
Is that foreshadowing for anybody from May 2022 or June?
Yep.
Because I don't think you can get qualified at 6% right now. But we talk about how those two, really, that's what we talk about. We talk about how how it affects rents and how that does correlate. 29, the current short-term rental Airbnb market conditions. If you want to know what the market conditions of the short-term rental market on June 18th, 2022, basically the peak of the short STR market.
You know what's interesting about this one, Kyle, is
like the peak.
Well, no. What I'm noticing as we've gone through these chronologically is we basically started with short-term rentals. We talked about the Alabama coast, and that's it. Until episode 29, we talk about the market conditions of short-term rentals as if we had a whole bunch of episodes on this, and we didn't. What's interesting is...
we talked about them a lot in all these tools.
Exactly what I was going to say was we in every single one of these episodes, we bring it up and we talk a lot about our short-term rentals. And I think we felt like when we got to episode 29 that it was such a big part of our podcast that we kind of wanted to wrap it up with this market conditions.
Yeah, and it was nice we're also we used that to, give people the overview and the fluff and all the stuff that gets you inspired to do a short-term rental, but then we dive into the numbers of the actual market conditions there to back it up. I think another thing we didn't do, just a direct general, long-term rental market episode, is because we address that pretty much every episode chronologically.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about current conditions at that time, so it didn't make much sense.
That's a good part of what our podcast is about, which is why it is so interesting that we started with short-term rentals.
Yep. And then 30. What is 30?
Does recession equal housing bust? It sure didn't this time. Not this past recession, but who knows? They're all different. We talked about historically, we talked about the recessions from the historical past.
Well, we can reflect on our written start of the description, right? That So we get a better understanding of real estate climate without being swayed by the media. Will the real estate market bust of 2008 be matched by the pending recession of 2022? Said sarcastically. The short answer is no. I think we were right.
I think just the opposite happened. I think exactly the opposite happened. So yes.
Opposite of what?
The opposite of 2008 happened in
exactly.
2022.
There we go. July 2nd. Episode 31, the tax implications of selling your rental property. So that one we dived into capital gains and just things you got to think about when selling your rental property. We kept that very generalized.
I think it's interesting that it took us 31 episodes to get to something that basic.
Well, we really just didn't want to do it. We just like, well, I guess we'll do the tax episode. You got to have it somewhere in here. You got to think about those things every once in a while.
So this one was interesting. We might have to have Patrick Noonan back on because we had him in for episode 32 to talk about 1031 exchanges. And this was really just to introduce our audience to what they were, right? Mm-hmm. We wanted to assume that people didn't know what they were, and here's what they are, and here's what they do. So this was really a introductory thing.
Yeah, and I mean, these are bigger investor things, and it was a really common thing 2021, 2023, because things were being moved around and all that before the interest rate changes. But yeah, 1031 exchanges can avoid. It was a great thing to come after tax implications and we did that intentionally because it's a product you use to avoid tax implications or negative tax implications. Mm-hmm. So if you consider paying taxes a negative thing, so which most investors do. Episode 33, are pool homes good rental properties?
Hey, Kyle, let me ask you a question about this one. Do you think that your opinion of this question has changed since August 2022? Honestly.
It's a good question.
Because we've had a lot of pool stuff happen.
I don't think my opinion has changed. I think, well, to start, what we talked about in that episode is actually we brought in short-term rentals and how those, this can be a different question, whether it's long-term or short-term. But no, my opinion's of the same. I'm still going with
I think
no.
I think the episode 33 we focused on. Are you saying they're not good rental properties then? Is that what you're saying?
Go listen to the episode.
This episode, I think, was focusing on the positives and the negatives in a long-term rental. I think is what we focused on there.
What's the reward on that?
Mortgage hacks.
34 mortgage hacks with our current market, Candy Katz.
Candy Katz. You know what? We promised to have her back on. She was fun and entertaining. We ought to have her see what she's got up her sleeve nowadays because she was introducing something to us that while interest rates were rising, she was getting us reacquainted with some lending strategies
that are good in buyer's markets.
Yeah.
What kind of market would you say we're in?
Right now?
It's a buyer's market.
Yeah, it's still a buyer's market, but it's definitely because of the interest rates and the amount of inventory, it's a buyer's market, but it feels very neutral right now, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. When they're both so low. But yeah, she talks about these are the ones that I think are interesting to see and show how much the market has changed in so little time. Because the things we talked about with Candy, probably those products have changed vastly at this point.
Probably they were doing the 5-1 buy downs is what they call them. I think maybe now they're doing 3-1 buy downs.
Provide. Yeah. It's probably one. The next one's probably
time value of money. This is Kyle's. This is right up Kyle's. This is right out of your brain.
Still talk about all the time, and
I think you threw this at me the other day during a conversation. As a matter of fact,
you still probably got as strong of a grip of what I mean is what you did in episode 35, the time value of money. So to keep that simple, what we talk about in that episode is the value of money now versus money later, and what. Money now is more valuable than money later. If you give me $100 today, it's more valuable than the $100 you want to give me in 2 years. And I'll keep it at that.
So when I win the lottery, take my 50% now instead of my monthly payments for the next 30 years.
And don't don't make me say yes or no to that, but don't tell anybody I was the one who said yes, right?
Current market trends is pretty self-explanatory. The cost of vacancy. This was a good one. This was another one. I don't know. I can't believe I forgot about it. This is another one of my favorites because it's probably another one that I reference the most.
Yeah, it's probably the most neglected factor. And that's what we talk about in this episode, how it's the most important thing that nobody considers at the same time.
And how did it take us 37 episodes to get to the cost of vacancy? This is another one that when we're looking at chronologically.
This is actually, how does a property manager make me more money that we did at the beginning addressed this. We just dove way further in this episode. Because bringing that one up second, you wouldn't be surprised if we do that one again. Some other variation. That's how important it is. And then we jumped into another cost episode, the cost of setting up a short-term rental. And this one was more informative. This one was more to give you real, every Airbnb, you go on TikTok, you'll see people talking about their Airbnbs, blah, blah, blah. This was to give you true insight into the cost associated with setup. And then we can move on to, as far as getting it ready, furnishing it, all that. And then next episode 39, we talk about the cost of operating so that you get true transparency into the world of a Airbnb investor or an operator.
And 40?
I'm
40,
not 40
40 was kind of the finish of that that series.
And ending it up with the real figures of a short-term rental. So the 38 and 39 was a generalized, or not really generalized, but the costs associated, what they are of operating, setting up, and then these real figures are actually like numbers from our spreadsheets, like from our operations and setups. So
it was interesting about this series. It came at a good time because Airbnb, we're calling it Airbnb. See, I'm falling into that trap. Short-term rentals were becoming extremely, not just popular, but more accepted. And we didn't have a client, nor does a real estate agent out there have a client that doesn't bring it up at some point if they're thinking about investing. Everybody's thinking and wanting to know more about short-term rentals. They're hearing stories about other people doing it. They're watching it on TikTok. This came at a really good time when it was really starting to explode, and we were feeling like, gosh, we are constantly having conversations with people that want to get into this. Right? Mm-hmm. Let's do a series on it that help people understand and expand on it a little bit more. That's what that was born out of.
It was born out of the reality conversation, making it a reality for people, whether it's good or bad reality, just knowing it. This one, I remember back on this 41 because it aged very quickly. Shows you how quick the financial market and mortgage market moved in a short period of time. 41, should you consider an ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage? We did that one with Trevor Kerr, Gateway Mortgage. At the time, we were in financial conditions for mortgages and interest rates and all that where ARMs dipped to being, because of the time horizon of interest rates coming back down and them going up, that they dipped to being more making sense over a 30-year fixed. I'd say about a month or two after this episode, they just completely inverted and stopped making as much sense as they were when we released this. But that was one of the things we went over in that episode, is how quickly that could change and not be a thing. So,
Joel.
Yes, this one was great.
Our interview with Joel, another one of our favorites.
42, An Investor's Journey of Short-Term Rentals with Joel.
What a great story, y'all. If you just want to go back and you need some inspiration, if you are not renting or if you're just starting renting, you want to go back and just listen to 2 or 3 of these. Listen to episode 2, 3, and listen to episode 42. Those are the best ones.
We said in Journey of Short-Term Rentals, but the great part about his journey is it combines everything we've talked about. It combines a homeowner becoming a forced landlord,
Right.
and then using that experience to get more long-term rentals and
Right.
liquidating that portfolio to do something else, which in this case was becoming a short-term rental investor and building that journey out. So it's really just all the pieces of these different individual
And
investor
using the BRRRR
journeys.
strategies. He's using the BRRRR
Yep.
strategy, and he's using his network. I mean, there's so many things we've talked about in these podcasts, and he encapsulates
And then he didn't think
all
about
of it.
doing it until he had to
It
do
all
the
just
first
kinda happened.
one, right?
Yep.
And that there was a time period between one and the other, and it really ties into planting the tree and all this stuff, because he hadn't planted the tree 15 years before doing the second journey.
Right.
It never would have been happened or been possible.
And now
right?
he's getting into Alabama. We need to get him back in, don't we?
Yeah.
Him and the Seatons. Getting excited.
So 43 in December, a recap of 2022's market outlook and 2023 projections. We should just go listen to that one. And it was only 4 months ago.
I probably want to shoot myself if we listen to that one.
We recapped 2022 and projected 2023. Go see how right we were and let us know, because John clearly doesn't want to listen to that one. Episode 44, real estate syndication funds. This is where we got a lot bigger than for a second.
We really stepped out of our comfort zone with this one a little bit, didn't we? I mean,
well, we jumped away from the starting out investor a little bit there, but we're trying to cast a big net here. In that one, we talk about real estate syndication funds. And I almost want to say more than that, but
okay, so let's talk about this just a second, though, because the reason why we did this wasn't just because we were trying to cast a bigger net or get that group of investors in. It's because this, like short-term rentals, is becoming more popular for the everyday common folk to understand, to have access to.
And lower risk. And control risk tolerance.
So for all the reasons that you would do it, you can go on any number of websites and take advantage of a syndication fund for as low as, hundreds of dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's something felt like we needed to address, because that is also a way to fund projects. It's a way to get stuff done. We've used it in our business, so
it's a method that becomes more popular too in high interest rate environments. So it's time specific.
Yep.
Avoiding interest rates, right? A unique investing opportunity, 45. So this is where we piggybacked our real estate syndication funds.
That's what we called this one. Really, we needed who titled this one? We need a better title for this one. Can we change? Is it too late to change the title? No.
It's too.
This one should just say
what we call it.
Shipping
containers. This was talking about. We interviewed or sat down with Vazul Heights about their up and coming shipping container business for short term rentals, where they, build out shipping containers to rent out as Airbnbs.
They are right now. He called me a couple weeks ago. They are right now in San Marcos working on an entire community of shipping container community, and he's really excited about what they're doing down there.
I'm pretty sure in that episode we chat GPT'd a name for his company.
Yep, we did.
I wonder, did he ever land on it?
I don't know. We'll have to circle back with him on that. Get him back on.
Yeah. 46. Maximizing your short-term rental income. Ironically, one of our most, I'm going to call it SEO strong episodes, clearly, because it just blew a whole bunch of our podcasts out of the water. I guess that's some token words people been. Well, we released it in February 25th of 2023, one of the lowest months in the last 3 years of short-term rental performance. So that might have had something to do with it. But we basically talk about ways to maximize your rental income in the short-term rental business, something that we do for our clients and our own properties, and just talking about the vast amount of factors that you have to consider to be successful.
And that's based on a lot of experience with a whole bunch of units in 3 different markets, right? I'll remind everybody we're in Orange Beach, Alabama. We're in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. We're doing it here in Dallas, Fort Worth. And because all three of those markets are completely different, we've gained experience on how to maximize your income in each market, and it's different in each one.
Yep. Episode 46. Go listen to it to maximize your short-term rental income, or give us a call and don't have to listen to it.
There you go. Okay, this is the one that I'm gonna say something about this one. We're almost done here, but in episode 47 we talked about cost segregation with our Aaron Coates. So he's on our team. He does a lot of our books, and I really thought that this was going to be the Kyle and Aaron show, and I was just going to want to sit here and be a fly on the wall and maybe blow my brains out. And that's twice I've said that today. I'm sorry. I am not condoning anybody blowing their brains out, by the way. I really thought that this was going to be horrible.
I think you made it worse.
I probably did make it worse by acknowledging it.
By acknowledging
Kyle,
void his previous statements for the last 30 seconds. Thank you.
I'm trying to avoid it, but you're not allowing me to. So Kyle, tell us what cost segregation is.
Oh gosh! If you want, go to episode 47
right,
with Aaron Coates. Cost segregation is a way to use your current assets to save money on paying taxes.
I think the point I was trying to make there was I was pleasantly surprised by how that podcast went and how interested I was in it.
Yeah, I mean it was very informative. Yeah, we might have saved people hundreds of thousands of dollars on taxes, and that's not an understatement. Just if you go listen to that,
not an understatement.
So this one is we're getting to what we just did, but. Maybe I like the naming of how we've been doing it recently. 48, the human side of investing in real estate. What do you think about this one?
I liked this one a lot. And this one was interesting. This one was born out of a really emotional, always trying to get to that emotional side about why people say yes or no, why they do things, why they act, why they don't act, right? And at the time, we were probably dealing with a whole bunch of people and their emotional baggage, right? And so that's kind of what this was born out of, was like, you know what, let's really break this down into what is the human side, the emotional side of investing. What is it? And we dive into it pretty well here.
We put on our therapist hat.
Yep. We did, didn't we?
You have to do that every once in a while, right?
Yep, every day.
Hang up the phone and you're like, am I a therapist? Should I be billing these hours to...
I think whoever created the acronym SMH, they might have been a property manager.
Shake my head. Episode 49 came out Saturday. I don't even have a date on this one. That's how soon it was.
It's just Saturday. Just Saturday. Just
Saturday.
some Saturday in 2023.
Would have been March 31st. No, April 1st, right? 2020. April Fool's Day. We came out with Maximizing the Resident Experience with Executive Consultant Jonathan Cook, Rev Mastery. Now, Jonathan Cook, we could just... we love these episodes just because we could sit here and talk to him about anything all day, right?
I could do a podcast on chocolate chip cookies with Jonathan Cook.
Yeah,
that guy was easy to talk to, and he really knows his stuff. And he's been in this realm, property management realm, for quite some time. So for him, talking about this stuff he's just really informative and good to listen to.
I feel like you just gave us a podcast idea. We should create a podcast where
chocolate chip cookies.
No, we do podcasts about things we know absolutely nothing about.
Today we're going to talk about the 1978 Ford Pinto and why it blew up.
Now we know nothing about it. Let's read this story and then ask ChatGPT, and then Bob's your uncle and you're good to go. I think we're going to do that one. That's going to be episode 51, transitioning to our new podcast.
No, we're not going to do that.
Talking about things we know nothing about.
Let's not do that.
Just kidding. We're not going to do that.
Let's wrap this one up, though, Kyle, because we just went through 49 episodes faster than I thought we would.
Yes, maybe. I don't know. It didn't clock
Steve,
it.
did we do pretty good on that?
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to listen to any of these, you got to this one, so you clearly could probably figure out how to listen to the other 49. But if you wanted to talk, if you want to listen to anything else, and give us a call, 817-818-9039. Shoot us an email at showmethemoney@weartpm.com. Thank you for tuning in to our bibliography.
Yep. I hope it helps.
Reference episode of the awesomeness. 49 episodes of awesomeness.
Good job, Kyle. 50 in the books, baby. 50 in the books.
Thanks for tuning in.
All right.